G'day guys, Alex here from TWP Club. Hope you're well today. Just wanted to share our new look game plan for property investors with you. So get a lot of questions around what the actual game plan encompasses and effectively what it is. It identifies where you're at today, where you'd like to be in the future, and it highlights very clearly for you what the gap is. Now, it can be quite confronting and the figures can be quite alarming. So I thought I'd just change it up a little bit, turn it into a more of a cartoon style presentation just to soften the blow a little bit there for you, but the numbers are all effectively the same. So through here, we're just going to, I'm preparing this for myself as of 2026. But before we kick off, I'll just run through a disclaimer with you very, very quickly. This is just a tool that's used for simulation purposes only. This is not financial advice. Please do not take it as personalized financial advice there, guys. And we'll kick off with the financial goals. So what am I actually looking for? This is the primary start point for any investor is saying, where do I want to be and when do I want to be there? So I want to retire in 10 years' time and I'd like $100,000 worth of income in retirement. So how can I get there? Okay, the first sort of calculation that you need to be allowing for would be your assumptions here, which would be the rate of return and the inflation that we need to allow for through the calculations here. So rate of return would be yield on any property, it would be dividends on any shares, it would be interest on any cash in the bank, and inflation, I think we're all acutely aware of what inflation is today. So what we have to do is understand your current asset situation. So what is the total value of everything that you own at the moment? Any saleable asset, what we're looking at here, $1.2 million. I've got a home's worth $1 million. I've got $200,000 in shares or superannuation, for example, and I've got $800,000 worth of debt. So any property investor, any homeowner, any property owner out there really should understand what their total interest payable will be. So this is the total interest payable in this scenario here. It's a fairly simple calculation. Most brokers can work this out for you pretty quickly, but you can do it yourself at home quite easily as well. But understanding that number is the first step in addressing a bigger issue, which is getting that non-deductible debt paid down as soon as possible. But these are your liabilities that you're looking at, your non-negotiables, rain, hail, or shine. You've got to pay these expenses. And the second one there, obviously, is going to be the tax payable. Now, this client here, total tax payable over the next 10 years is $220,000. So their total liability expenses, again, as I said, the total cash flow deductions that you need to allow for is $1 million. We then have a situation here where we can say, okay, I'm going to retire today instantly. What does that look like for me? So if I sell everything I have and pay off all the debt, I'm left with $400,000. However, in order to do that, I had to sell the home. It's unlikely that most investors are going to sell the home to clear the debt. So we are now starting in a negative 600,000 net asset position when we've excluded the home from that equation. So if I need $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in the future for my retirement, I also need to allow for this $600,000 to pay off that debt. So just be mindful of that. That's a big thing for us. We want to clear that non-deductible debt as quickly as possible. When we look at the assets required in retirement, I'm going to, in this scenario, I'm going to need $2 million. Multiply that by 5% will give me that $100,000 per annum that I wanted in retirement. However, that's in today's dollars, allowing for inflation. 10 years' time, that's $2.5 million. So we've also got that 600,000. I harped on about it for a little bit there, but basically you're going to need about $3.2 million there just to put away the $2 million and pay that $600,000 off in the mortgage. So bearing in mind this, net income producing assets, this is unencumbered property, shares, whatever it might be. So to accumulate $2 million worth of unencumbered property means you probably need $3 or $4 million worth of property, sell something to pay down the debt and clear the debt. So there's a few things there that might be a little bit scary for people, but there's really only two options at this point, which is either you reduce your expectations significantly for the future, or you make some positive changes to try and correct that course as quickly as possible. Now, when we look at the liability and the assets all in combination, well, we have a liability here of $800,000 mortgage And then we had the interest and the tax there. So all up, we need to earn $1.8 million just for that, just to live basically. And then we wanted that $2 million to generate the income for us in retirement. So the combined figure, $3.8 million. And then if we divide that by the 10 years, means it's $380,000 per annum that we need to come up with. So it might be a little bit of an overwhelming figure there to be looking at, but you can leverage your way into assets, and those assets will then grow over time, and you can have a bit of a snowball effect to start chipping away at that. But the reality is, for this particular situation here, that's a very, very, very steep mountain to climb. And it's primarily down to the fact that there's only 10 years left to retirement. So time is a huge factor. And I would certainly encourage you, if you are interested in looking at taking the next steps, what you need to do is identify what your gap looks like. So what have you got today? What are you hoping for in the future? What does that look like? And then tackling that with your strategy to get that corrected as quickly as possible. You need to course correct. You need to get yourself back on track. And you need to make sure that the strategy that you employ to build your portfolio, to grow your wealth for the future, is supported by an adequate structure as well. So that might be a family trust or a company or SMSF, self-managed super fund. But along the way at each stage, I'd strongly encourage you to seek assistance, to start with a game plan for yourself, work out what your gap is, work out then what the next steps are. And we'd love to work with you, help you build your strategy, help you seek the right advice to get the right structure around you so that you've got the best chance of success to bridge that gap to retirement. So truly hope you got something good out of that today. Appreciate your time, and hope to hear from you soon. Take care.